save that until the end. So we'll just hang out right here for a minute. Okay. So, the whole point behind this is working towards a greener future, a more sustainable future, being able to solve some of those things that we talked about this morning with lithium-ion batteries, getting things in the right place, keeping our facilities and our public places looking well. So we have three speakers that have done a great job with that, and instead of me talking about what they've done with this, what I'm going to take the opportunity to do is introduce them, let them tell you just a little bit about what they bring to this path towards a greener space, and we'll go from there. And I think that their conversations are going to resonate with all of us because it's all things that we're very, very familiar with. So I'd like to start out with Valentina Rodriguez with St. Lucie County Solid Waste and her Recycling Rangers, empowering youth to drive community-wide recycling change. So.
Hello, everybody. I'm used to giving this presentation to 5-year-olds, so bear with me if my language is a little bit different. I try to adjust it a little bit, but my personality is still the same. So I am Valentina Rodriguez. I'm the St. Lucie County Outreach, Marketing, Education Coordinator, fancy way of saying I just do it all over there to make sure that my community knows what we should be putting in our bins and shouldn't be putting in our bins. But I do have a title that I love most of them all, and that's Recycle Ranger Val. So in St. Lucie County, most people would just call me that. I did create this cute little program. I have a short and sweet little presentation for everybody. So if you would have asked me 2 years ago what I'd be doing for work, I would have never told you that I'd be sitting here in front of a room of professionals and talking about superheroes. Wasn't on my agenda, but here I am. Our community was faced with one challenge, and that's the fact that our MRF was covered in contaminated recyclables. And a lot of people didn't know the difference. They didn't care, or they just strictly didn't have the knowledge of it. So what we decided was, instead of just focusing on the adults and changing the habits, we went out to the schools and we really empowered those kids, because those kids will make sure that they're getting on top of their parents. If they're passionate, you're going to hear about it no matter what, whether you're a grandpa, whether you're their parents, whether you're a friend. We created this program, I want to say roughly a year and a half ago. This has been our first year. In April, we hit 1 year for Recycle Rangers. It was our pilot program, but it quickly took off. Our community has been very receptive to our presentations. We go out there and we notice that kids don't really like PowerPoints. They don't care about a brochure, they don't care how long I stand up here and I just tell them, hey, this is what goes in your bin, and this doesn't go in your bin. So we created this program to really empower our kids and put the ball right back in their court, make our little eco-influencers. So we go out and I talk to the kids and I make sure that they are becoming their own superheroes. So we're a little bit mirrored after Power Rangers. I grew up on those. So we go out there, we give them the missions that they need to be focusing on every single month. And we tell them to really bend the rules. I don't want you to just stick to a textbook and learn what needs to go in and then just kind of forget about it once you get home. I want you to go home and I want you to really put those messages into practice. I want you to go home and make sure you tell your parents, hey, that's not what was supposed to go in that bin. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be recyclable. Or hey, that battery can't go in any bin. I need you to take it to my Recycle Ranger, which is what we do a lot over there. We quickly noticed that our program was taking off and it was working not because we were passionate, but also because we shared our passion with the kids. I can sit here and I can tell you everything that needs to go into a recycling bin until I'm blue in the face, and you can either take that information and use it, or you can just forget about it and leave your mind immediately. With these kids, we got them to be interactive. We got them to come out and actually learn hands-on what needs to be going in our bins, why it matters, why we would do this in the first place. So we partnered with Waste Pro over at our county. That is our hauler. I showed up at their office with a dream, kind of told them, hey, I'm either gonna be your favorite person or your worst nightmare, but I need your help. Thankfully, they went for the favorite person option. So we go out, we bring their giant trucks, their giant recycling trucks. We do touch a truck presentations at every school, every event. We have our sorting monsters, which we feed. So our kids really love them. We have our garbage monster. We have our recycling monster. And then last year we introduced our first waste diversion monster, which was gonna be our film monster, that yellow one. We really introduced why plastic bags shouldn't be going in our recycling bins. And everybody's loved it so far. Little sneak peek, this year we're gonna talk about batteries. So that'll be our next monster. We've made a difference in our community together, and we noticed that once we included the kids in the conversation and we brought them out, we were noticing a difference in our contamination rates. We noticed the excitement in the schools. I can't tell you how many kids have run up to me in the community, and they will identify me as their recycle ranger. I'm constantly being stopped, I'm constantly being asked. We have kids who are passionate, who have seen us, whether it's at our Earth Day festivals, whether it's at the school presentations, we do summer camps. We offer tours of the facility, and they come and they look for us just because they're excited. They want the next mission. They want to learn what they can do to really take care of their community once you put that passion on them. We quickly learned that the classroom might be the best bet to start off with, but it's not the end route for us. We learned that we had to meet our kids where they were outside of that classroom, whether it be at their summer camps, when we do our guest speaking presentations, when we go out to their spring flings, when we do the community events. We're consistently out there, we're supporting the same message to them, and we're making sure that we're accessible to them. Most of my Recycle Ranger kids have me on LinkedIn from their parents, and they'll send me cute little messages and ask me questions. They have my email, they have my number. They can text me at any time, to shoot me a picture of whatever they're trying to put in their bin, identify where it needs to go, and get new missions from us at all times. We really made sure that we were accessible to them and that they knew that they could always count on me as their recycling mentor. We made a giant impact in St. Lucie County, not just with our kids, but also with the adults. We go out and we talk to the HOAs, we make sure that they know what they need to be doing. We've done over 300 tours, tour participants. We do 28 tours yearly right now, just on the first year of me being in this program and being in this role. We actually were just invited for our first international guest speaking opportunity. So I was able to talk with over 175 students in Colombia who reached out because they saw our message, and they reached out because they were doing a program, like a quick little presentation on the impacts that adults are having right now with our world and taking care of it. So they were doing the ones that are damaging it and the ones that are saving it. I was on the ones that were saving it, not to toot my own horn, but I was pretty happy about that. And we got to talk to them about our program and how they can create their own Recycle Rangers. So it was a very, very nice opportunity for us. And that all came from what we're doing and just word of mouth. They saw all these crazy Recycle Rangers. They saw me in my costume. They saw me going out there and just being passionate. So let's build your own. How are we gonna build our own Recycle Rangers in every single county? Pretty easy. I started extremely small. I had $0 of a budget when I first got hired. And they said, you have a presentation in a week, make sure that it sticks and make sure it's something that works, with no money. No money, no guidance, no idea what you're gonna be doing. So I walked on over to our MRF, I grabbed 3 boxes, and I just spray painted them with paint from Hasways. I picked 3 colors that were gonna be our identifying colors for each monster. I cut out a big hole for the mouth, and then I just printed some big googly eyes to put on top of it. That was the birth of our sorting monster. And I can tell you, they've been around for 2 years, and I just had to replace them. And they've been through the ringer with these kids. From there, I showed up at Waste Bros' door, just told them, hey, we need to build something in this community. I need your help, and I need to make sure the kids are seeing the importance in this. We built up our partnership. Waste Pro has been with us from the start, our local Waste Pro office, and we have just become Recycle Rangers, and the kids love us. We go out there and we make sure that they know how passionate we are. And it was really that simple. I haven't had to replace my monsters yet, well, except this last one. Replace my monsters. I go out, I am the marketing billboard for them. I go out and I talk to everybody in the community about what we're doing, and it's been a pretty easy but pretty rewardful program that we've created. And then I invite everybody to follow me on LinkedIn, because my LinkedIn Recycle Ranger Val is where we're going to be posting all of our upcoming tips for all of our Recycle Rangers. And I really encourage that you bring us out to your community so that we can have more Recycle Rangers in all of our partnering communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Valentina. And we'll go ahead and hold the questions for the end. So our next speaker is Paul Conover with Osceola County Office of Sustainability. And the topic is Responsible Recycling Osceola, working towards a green future and crushing it. But not actually.
No, we're doing that too.
Oh.
We'll see that.
Okay.
Wow, that was very good. Your first public presentation, that was very nice.
Thank you.
I'm gonna take a little liberty here. Before I present, I also wanna embarrass two other people that are in the audience that could be up here presenting the same exact presentation. There are sustainability project specialists that work on this program. Nicole, if you guys could stand up. Stuff that they get done on their own, and they could be up here just as easy as I am.
So we have a choice?
Yes. You said you were gonna be up there. Anyway, so Paul Conover, Sustainability Project Manager with Osceola County. The project I'm going to talk about today is Responsible Recycling Osceola. We have an EPA grant of $750,000 and 3 years to spend it, and we're almost 2 years in. This project is basically an education and outreach program about teaching people, kids and adults, primarily the kids, to put the pressure on the adults to change the law. But teaching them about glass recycling, how easy it is to turn glass bottles into sand. If anybody knows, sand is almost in anything. It's everywhere. And once it is back into one of its main ingredients, sand, it can be utilized, reused over and over again. And it's very simple to do. So we have this EPA grant. And what I want to do is ask you real quick to think about the last glass bottle that you threw away or recycled. It could be a beer bottle, wine bottle, liquor bottle, salsa, spaghetti, doesn't matter. But would you realize that that glass bottle could be part of flood mitigation? It could be made to help with construction. It can also be used for coastal restoration like it's being used in Louisiana. Our goal in Responsible Recycling Osceola is to get out and to educate people, again, about how easy it is to recycle glass, because Osceola County unfortunately stopped glass recycling about 7 years ago, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be starting anytime soon because of the way the economy is going and some of the other things. But we're starting with the kids. That's the main goal. But when we started the program, what did we have? Absolutely nothing, so we had the money. And bringing on the right staff at the right time, things change. We started out small, but we grew. And we were lucky enough to have experts that we could talk to. We talked to research and development staff over in Disney. We talked to Alex and Fran out of Glass Half Full, Louisiana. And in the bottom corner, Cynthia Andela, who's been a pioneer in glass recycling and was the first person to create a glass recycling commercially viable crusher, which is that blue one that's pictured. And she did that in the 1980s. 80s, we're talking over 40 years ago. This isn't new technology. It's just finding new ways to use it, and the communication and the education. This is the glass crusher that we use. Our program has to be mobile. It has to be able to fit into a trailer. We have to move it in and out of the trailer. This is about a 1 foot by 1.5 foot footprint, about 300 pounds. It's not easy to move. So we did have to fabricate some things and put some wheels on the bottom so we can get it in and out of the trailer. The way that this works is very simple. You drop a bottle in the top, gravity pulls it down. There's 15 hammers in there that spin around. And in the very bottom in the little plastic is where sand and dust collect. Now, sand and dust, that's important. We have two of these. One of them is named Sandy, and the other one is named Dusty. We haven't named a lot of our products, because instead of saying, go get the vehicle, which is a big red 2004 Ford Expedition, we say, go get Clifford, the big red vehicle. We have a generator for Westinghouse, we name it West. It's just easier, it's fun, it gives us something to laugh about sometimes. But this is a picture of the 15 hammers inside of Sandy. And the way that this works is that as these hammers are spinning and it's crushing the glass, it's also crushing against a curved plate. It's rolling the glass. It's taking the sharp edges off. So it's able, you can be able to touch it and feel it and manipulate it as soon as it drops to the bottom. That's important in our program because kids are very tactile. The color you put in is generally the color you get out. You put in a Heineken bottle, you're going to get green. You put in clear, you're going to get clear, brown, and blue, and so forth. And you're going to get different sizes. And these are all things that we use in our education program. So we had to be mobile. So this is our trailer. It's boring when we got it. It's just gray. And if we showed up anywhere, people would think like we're some kind of undercover government agency with this thing, because we just needed something that needed to pop. And we needed to get out in the community. So what we did is probably just like what many of you guys did, is we reached out to a local elementary school. We had an art contest. It takes the pressure off of us, it takes the pressure off of our communications team, and the winners were received a certification from one of our commissioners and also a state legislator, his wife, and then also another commissioner came out and did dedication and the unveiling of the trailer. It was our way of getting out into the community, because when we were starting, we were the ones making the phone calls. We were the ones that needed to take this small little bit of equipment that we had, a crusher, a generator, and some glass and a propane tank, and get out into the community. Now things are a little bit different. We get the phone calls. People are booking us now almost a year in advance. And the amount of equipment that we bring around has dramatically increased. And this is about 8 months old, I say this picture is. We've changed out, we've improved the things that we're doing. And this is going to come vital later because we're mobile and we can do a different variety of programs. We have to have everything with us at all times whenever we go out. Like I said, we started out small. We were at events where nobody showed up. Remember that one? Sitting in the summer, hot for about 5 hours. We would sit in corners. We'd have people come up. But we took advantage of every interaction that we had. If we learned that a teacher was come out, we'd be like, hi, my name is Paul. Maybe we can come to your school and give a presentation for you. All we need is 20 minutes. And it started like that, and things started growing. We took whatever we could get. We teamed up with the University of Florida IFAS Extension Office in Kissimmee, and they have a very successful backyard composting program. Now, composting is organic, glass sand is inorganic. Glass sand is not going to help you make compost, but once the compost is created, you can mix the glass sand into the soil, and you can get some special benefits depending on the type of seed that you plant, and also the amount of glass sand you put in there. But that's for another presentation. But thanks to the University of Florida IFAS program, we were able to get another audience involved. We were now talking with adults, not just the kids. We got invited to summer camps. We took full advantage of that. Now, like Val was saying, they don't essentially love PowerPoints, but it's an essential part to educate them. But they're very tactile. They love activities. They want experiential things. So we started coming up with projects for them, some simple things, a coloring page where you could put different colored glass sand on that we would produce on site, or bring some with us with some glue. Something different, something out of the box. But the success of our program isn't measured in just the metrics that we have to meet for the EPA grant that we have. We talked very early on in the program that capturing the photos of the kids and the people interacting with this product were key, because the kids smiling, the parents smiling, the look of awe sells a lot more than a graph and numbers when you're asking for money, when you're asking for an extension in a program. So we were able to get out to larger STEM programs, and the nice thing about our project, is that you can be up close and personal with it. It's not dangerous. It's a little bit loud, but people get over that. But you can see here how close they can get while it's in use. And then once we open it up and they can actually physically touch the glass sand that's in it. We've done presentations on sidewalks, under trees, outside of libraries. We would do them anywhere. We've done them in the parking lots of facility management facilities as a team building activity for the department. And speaking of team building activities, in the bottom corner, you see Nicole down there with a picnic table. That's the 7th floor of a parking garage for one of our departments who wanted to do a team building activity. Again, small little project, but it gets us out and known from the staff that we work with in the same building. We got invited by a Rotary to go and give a presentation. Nicole did a great presentation with the Rotary, and then we took them out back on the grass and showed them how to make glass sand. But as we were doing all this outreach, and we want to create a glass recycling program, just those pictures of the smiling kids and the numbers of programs that we're doing is not enough. We had to show use cases and proof of concept. We are not solid waste. We don't have that budget. There's only 4 of us in our office. And we have a vehicle and a trailer, and that's all we have to move our equipment and our glass around. So we reached out to Valencia College in Kissimmee, and while they were planting one of their trees for Earth Day, we went out and did an educational component for their facility management. They mixed in some of our glass sand in the tree that they planted, and then they put a little, I apologize to a microphone. Did you see that? Then they put a little sign up for us, so we're always gonna be there. We teamed up with a local high school. This is Neo City Academy, the Eco Nights. And what they did was a longitudinal study well over the course of a school year of mixing our glass sand into store-bought topsoil and seeing which plants grow better. Again, that technology, that study is already out there. You can find it anywhere on the website. Look at it, Colgate, University of Penn, Andela. But what they found out, surprisingly, don't be shocked, is you need to water the plants. So putting glass sand in the soil actually helps it percolate through a lot faster, so it's not holding as much. It's really good for arid like cactuses or those type of plants. But when they went home for the holidays, Thanksgiving through Christmas, nobody watered the plants. The teacher said every outcome is a good outcome, and they worked with it. But we're going to do it again next year. We also have some fun with some programs. So one of the, Nicole came up with the idea of one of our camps of just doing the basic thing that you would see at the shore or the beach, depending on what part of the country you're from and what you call it, and mixing in different colored glass sand in the bottles. We did that at one of the camps. We thought, hey, Valentine's Day is coming up. Why not do something fun for the staff in our building? It was not received well at first. Why? Because it was different. Glass, you want to bring glass sand into our building, it's going to make a mess. Why do you want to do this for the employees? There were a lot of hurdles to go over, but it was very successful. We thought maybe 20, 30 people would show up. We ended up getting over 100. And we got invited back by our Human Resources Department to do it during Employee Appreciation. Why? Because it's different. And it shows that we are educating and we care about the staff. Again, with those use cases, we had to get things a little bit bigger because arts and crafts only go so far. This is outside of the Extension Office, the University of Florida IFAS building, where they had a master gardener has a group of flower bed, and they had a bunch of pavers that they wanted to remove. And we thought, hey, we've already been to your classes, we've already talked to you about glass recycling, let's use it for top dressing on a landscaping project. So about 3,000 bottles, 3,000 pounds later, that's about 6,300 bottles. They have this beautiful glass sand path, 100% glass. You can walk on it on your bare feet. And it took us, well, hours. I think we totaled it up about 24 hours because we're doing to crush it and to move the glass back and forth. But when the sun hits it right, it shines like it's beautiful. It's not like concrete. It's not like asphalt. It's not like a paver. It's different. They also put a little sign up for us. Now, talking about educating on some of the things that we've learned, or the BMPs, this is what is posted or going to be posted outside the trail. And if you notice in the very bottom, or anywhere on there, it does not mention glass. We learned from another agency in Central Florida that had a glass trail and had it for years. It was a multi-use trail. People used it, no complaints, nothing. The minute they put a sign up, and said it was made out of recycled glass, that's when people started falling and saying they got cut on the glass. That's when they put their hands on it, touched it, I got cut on the glass. And that's a lawsuit. So nothing we put out says that it was made from recycled glass, unfortunately. We also learned from Disney when we got a tour of what they were doing, that they were using glass sand as the bedding in their greenhouses. Now, they have to be very particular and very slow in their process of how they use the glass sand, because it can create a little bit more heat, or at least that's what they were worried about. And as you know, they have the flower festival, so things have to bloom at the right time. And we don't have to worry about that in the county, we have a greenhouse. So we're just gonna put glass sand in the bottom, but it's gonna be our biggest project, because we have to do about 3.75 cubic yards of glass sand. That is a lot for a non-solid waste entity to collect. Things were big, but we also have to think about the small, because people who learn differently with the auditory and the visual, we also have to educate with the macro and the micro. So we bought some microscopes, and we let the kids see the non-crystalline amorphous structure of glass. So we took this big thing, these big concepts, even all the way down to not the molecular level, but pretty darn close. And as you can see, Nicole is here, and you can see the people that are just fascinated at what it looks like. And we have beach sand and we have glass sand, and we always ask them to try and find the difference, or see which one is what. So we get about 50-50, they get it right, they get it wrong. But it's always really interactive. This is one of our favorite, or at least my favorite, and I won't speak for them. These are 4-bin lids from plastic containers. 2 of them are filled with store-bought play sand, and 2 were filled with the glass sand we produced that morning. For 8 hours, kids, parents, everybody, thousands of people played in it. And they didn't know that it was glass until we told them. It behaved the same with the toys. It felt very similar in their hands when they were touching it. But it was our way of really getting that aha moment for them and advancing our program. And we take advantage of the fun stuff. So we were able to be part of a parade during the holidays. And then we also presented to a class at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro about the BMPs and how we put our program together, similar to what I'm being honored to do here today. The way we put our program together, like I said in the very beginning, we have a lot of materials, but we have to be ready for any situation. We can be as small as just Wes and Sandy, just the generator or the crusher, or we can do 3 tents with 4 tables. We could even do bigger. And these are just some of the samples of the different ways that we have to set up when we're out at programs. We get lots of social media coverage, a lot of it from an agency called Positively Osceola. And so we capture that. This is just a fraction of the stuff that we have. This is one of our commissioners at an event who wanted to do a little news story, interviewed Nicole while she was at the table, and then had myself and the commissioner show how Sandy works on camera for her. When we total how many people that we've interacted with, we say 60,000 people, and that's really conservative when you consider how many programs that we've had. And that's a great number. I was thinking of putting it in a bullet point, and I'm like, you know what, let's see what 60,000 looks like. This, I think, is more impactful of what 60,000 looks like. It looks like a soccer game now. But this is indicative of the things you have to do when you're in a program. Everybody learns differently. Just because you can teach it one way doesn't mean that's how someone's going to learn it. You have to be creative. You have to show things in a different way that are memorable. This is memorable. This is an award that we won in 2025 from the National Recycling Coalition, and we accepted in Wichita for the things that we did. And as we were moving through our program, I want to show you some of the more creative uses. Because we talk to our staff in our building, and we're always pushing our program, trying to make sure that our administration hears us and hears the staff. We supply sand for people who want to decorate their plants in their office. Great, that's fine, and it looks wonderful. We are going now after putting together a booklet now, like a workbook. One of Nicole's is doing the Sandy and Dusty Glass Guardians and putting together a little flyer that we're copying off of University of Mississippi, talking about what glass sand is, because there's so much information, and when people come up to our table, we can't tell them everything. So we have some going away presents for them to take. These are just some projects that we've done as the educators, as the people that are working with this every day, because we have to keep our minds sharp as well and entertained. So basically a stained glass image without it being melted into stained glass. A glass globe where we just glued some glass sand to and internally lit. And then also a coaster made out of epoxy on the bottom. Those really didn't turn out that good, but we kept trying. This is a new program that we're doing, again, to bring in the public interaction. Everybody gives out swag when you're at events. The swag we're giving out are little plants, oregano, because glass sand works very well with herbs. And one of Nicole's made this label for the citizen scientists. And the website, our emails on the bottom, we want people to send us photos of their progress, getting them involved. We know this is going to bring people over to our table so we can talk to them. Well, this was a great idea. Good job, Nicole. So that's one of the Andela items, pieces of machinery. And going back to what we thought about earlier about when was the last time that you threw away a glass bottle? You know, what could it become? What is it going to be? Well, these are some of the much larger industrial size uses. So there's a thing called foam glass sand. It takes the place of actual granite aggregate that you have to mine. It's very light. There's a company that has presence in Florida, actually. And instead of bringing one truckload of the foam glass sand aggregate out, you can bring an entire 18-wheeler out. So anybody knows mobilization costs are going to be dramatically different with that. You can produce the sand for golf. You can make sand cinder blocks, which is already sand in it. Sand blasting, of course. 3D printed houses, that's the center bottom. If you think about glass as being used for insulation now already, why not put it into 3D houses and then to buy 2 minutes of the asphalt on the side, and then there's a million other things that glass can be used for. This is a visual of about the 9,500 bottles that we've collected, just 3 of us again, with the little vehicle and the trailer and a very engaged community. This is beer bottles, wine bottles, and liquor bottles. You don't get a great yield from each one that you crush. These are some averages that you get. This is our little storage covered roll-off container that we have at one of our landfills, which half the floor is missing, and it's usually covered in wasps and frogs and every other manner of bug and organism. So we've collected about 9,500 pounds. We're not a solid waste department, but we need glass to do our program, and everything that we use was donated. We have about 22,000 pounds of glass, and we still have more projects coming. Glass is just waiting to be used for something else. So before you throw that away, before you pitch it, just give it a second thought. And if you'd like to contact us, there's our numbers and our names. Thank you very much.
So, Paul, the next conference you come to, you're gonna change your name, right? Well, it would be Nicole. I think that's a good idea, isn't it? Okay, the Nicole Show. All right, so, moving on with that, we've had superheroes, we've crushed it, and now we're gonna end with Big Belly, and we've had a minor change with Big Belly, so I'm gonna introduce Big Belly's own superhero, who's gonna crush it with their presentation, Josh Edhart.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, as Carmen mentioned, I'm a little new to this presentation. My name is Matt Jordan. So any appreciation with your patience would be great. And happy to kind of get into everything with you guys. I usually get to do presentations like this over 45 minutes over Zoom calls, so it's great to see you all here in person. You talked about crushing it, now we're going to talk about smushing it. So, let's see.
Okay, great talk.
That's not my laptop. There you go. Great. Let's see. go in your window. There you go. Yeah. Awesome. So I think today, we're talking a lot about public spaces. We're hearing a lot about what people are doing in the public spaces. Some folks here have maybe interacted with Big Belly before, but I think regardless of whether you have or have not, we're all dealing with some of the similar issues. So, really looking at more with less, whether it's limited staff or resources, or even just deciding, where we allocate those resources and having to often choose between different, different aspects of what we're doing in our daily lives can often be difficult choices there. As far as looking at cleaner spaces, from the Boston area, we don't necessarily have the same issues with iguanas or seagulls that you guys might have. But I've been working with a lot of folks down here in Florida and trying to figure out, okay, from a litter perspective and looking at waterways or pest activity or overflows, where can we kind of improve on that? Where can we address some of those issues that we're seeing? Sustainability, I hope to think that everyone that's here today is sustainably minded. We're here to talk about recycling. But where can we really fine tune those operations where it comes from, the source, right? So not necessarily on the back end, but where can we really address diversion, composting goals, kind of at the bin. And then, thinking about better experiences, right? So I think when we hear Big Belly talk about what we do in the public space, it's not about a product, it's not about a bin. It's about really the experiences that folks are having in those spaces, how they're interacting in their cities' parks, or on their beaches or anything like that. So looking at a better approach, I think this is where we're really seeing a shift. Looking at what we've been doing so far and trying to improve upon these things. So smarter operations, improving our infrastructure, our technology and data. I think that's why we're all here today, is to learn new things about what other people are doing and to see how we can improve in our own communities. Looking at cleanliness. So again, really, I think a lot of people here are either in government or in operations, and really trying to focus on the spaces that we're responsible for, making them cleaner, less overflow, and pest access as well. As far as from a sustainability perspective, I was talking about this just on the last slide here, but where can we truly in our communities work on addressing these goals? Again, whether it's from a administration perspective or working with our communities as these two folks have done to really improve efforts on a wide scale. And that brings me to my last note, which is community. Looking at the places where people gather, where they're hanging out on the beach, in the parks, on the streets, and really focusing on a better approach there. So looking at a couple of examples, I personally haven't had the pleasure of working with Carmen, but I've heard many good things about what you're doing at the University of Florida and what our team has done over the last few years. So looking at a little bit of, from a university perspective, what they specifically needed. Better visibility into our operations. Universities are like small cities. You have folks that are constantly commuting across campus, looking at what do they need specifically in their operations. Sustainability goals. I think universities are often the leaders in this space. Young-minded folks, forward-thinking folks, looking at where can we address those sustainability goals, address those cross-contamination issues that we're seeing across the board. And then, looking at multiple waste streams across campus as well. So, is the waste stream that I'm collecting at the dining hall going to be different than what I might be seeing in the stadiums versus the library? And really catering to that and making sure that the materials are ending up in the right place. Cleaner, more attractive gathering spaces, right? Trying to get new folks to come join campus, whether they're currently enjoying, the spaces in between classes, or maybe, touring the campus, trying to figure out where they're gonna go to school next. Making sure that those spaces are welcoming, inviting, and clean, most importantly. And then I think consistency is really key as well, talking about those multiple waste streams. If someone that is going to deposit something in a waste bin, and they look at that bin and they don't instantly knowing where they want to put that, I think that could be a really big problem. So looking at that, and then of course, pest and rodent control, we talked about that already. A little bit of those, pesky, whatever they may be, squirrels, iguanas, rats, raccoons. I'm sure we've all heard the stories of maybe some of those critters getting into the bins. So looking a little bit at, what they implemented specifically. So they, and Carmen, you can chime in, I'm not sure exactly how many bins you have on campus, but over 100?
About 165, 68.
165, 168 bins across campus right now. Currently working on a pretty significant refresh. Fixing up some of the big bellies that need a little bit of love, and working on kind of striving towards those goals, fine-tuning what we've already done so far to really, establish some of the goals we talked about on that last slide. So when it comes to, again, some of the goals that we talked about already, productivity and innovation, looking at, really getting some visibility into the operations issues that they were facing previously. So being able to utilize some of the systems that we have and the systems that they're already using to really see where they could work further into some of their, operations and where they were doing things right already. As far as cleanliness, I think this is a big perk that we saw on campus is just the lack of litter, the lack of overflows. The last thing that you want to do if you're a prospective student or someone that is, going to take your finals or whomever is to walk by an overflowing trash bin. So being able to support those peak traffic periods, weekend events, commencement, big events like that is really big on a university space and even in any public space, especially as we look towards, variable seasonality. As far as sustainability is concerned, a lot of these universities have ambitious sustainability goals. So really making sure that we can cut down on that cross-contamination, having the right streams available in the right locations, and letting those students, faculty, administration use the bins how they're intended. As far as wraps are concerned, and I have a few here to show you as well today, really customizing these bins and adding to the UF culture, right? So it's not just your cast iron trash bin that kind of blends into the background, but really being loud and proud with some UF identity and creating a more welcoming campus. So as far as the operational ability is concerned and the operational improvements, this is a little snippet from our kind of software and monitoring platform that we offer. And this is something that I know, Carmen, you find a lot of value in.
So that's the more historic part of campus. So in our landscape master plan, Big Belly is one of the 3 tools that we can use. And in that part of campus, it's primarily what's there. It's about 98% of the bins that are found in that area. So we find that it's uniform, folks know how to use it, and we've got the cloud software to go into to help with servicing. Now, we're a little different than a large municipality that they use it. We kind of run the same route every day. So the software is definitely going to help us avert those over capacity issues. So just one of the places on campus where we see a bunch of them.
Yeah, and this is the EPAT function in our software capacity. So we're looking kind of on the right at the larger, area with all the bins that are there, but then diving deeper with that little bit of a, zoom in and seeing the bins that are actually getting the most amount of use throughout the day. So if Carmen's team is going out in the morning, if they're gonna visit all the bins every day, it might be a good place to start. Okay, let's start in that lower left-hand pocket there. Those bins are red, they're getting a lot of attention. We wanna make sure that we're addressing those possible overflows before we visit maybe the bins on the periphery that are in the greener colors. Talking about the wraps, right? So talking about the kind of the charm and going a little bit beyond a trash bin. So I think our motto is all together better. The all together part, right? So it's going a little bit beyond a trash can. We're talking about senses of space. We're talking about cleanliness, sustainability. Whether it's some fun signage that's going to encourage people to recycle, and feel a little bit more part of their community at university, or if it's just clear signage that is directing them towards where to put each item in the waste stream. So talking about a little bit of a different example, I know that some of these folks here are from the university space, some of us are from the municipality space. So a little bit of a shift, but at the core, a lot of the same issues, right? So you're dealing possibly with overflows. You're dealing with public spaces maybe on a larger scale. Something like the city of Gainesville, for example, just the next example here. Looking at where can we take some of these messages that we're learning from big play deployment and apply them to a larger area. So looking at again, reduce litter and overflow on a large scale. Looking at different resource allocation from a city standpoint, right? So having the sanitation department, the Parks and Recreation department, whoever is doing those collections, making sure that their time is best spent, and they're not spending all of their time collecting waste bins, right? There's a lot of other things for people to be doing, whether it's landscaping, picking up litter, filling potholes, looking at enhanced recycling goals, similar to what I've already talked about, and then again, attractive gathering spaces on a large scale throughout parks, cities, streets, and really improving some of those aspects as well. So looking at what they implemented, very similar to UF, but again in a little bit of a different sense. There we go. So similar sorts of improvements that they saw after they implemented Big Belly there. Looking at improved visibility into the servicing needs. So really knowing which bins need to be serviced when. Carmen mentioned that they go to every bin every day. Gainesville doesn't have the resources to visit every bin every day. So looking on our clean software dashboard in the morning, getting a report, maybe the supervisors are sending texts out to their staff and saying, these are the locations that you need to visit first, and then you can maybe come back to the offices here, work on a different project, not spend your entire day driving around the entire bin, city, when only a quarter or 50% of the bins are actually full and need to be empty. So really smart with their resource allocation and collection there. Looking at cleanliness as well. So again, it kind of goes without saying, if you guys have visited us at our booth, it's, once the waste goes in, it doesn't come out. So it's really hard for windblown litter to pull out of those bins. It's really hard for, any sort of litter issues to be, occurring there, as well as the fact that they're bright, they're proud. You see them, you might think mailbox first, and then you think, oh no, that's a trash can. And it makes you want to maybe go interact with it. Oh, what is that? So looking at that, sustainability I think is really big. And I have a slide here just in a few moments that really outlines where sustainability can be important, especially with the visibility of the bins and how we look at them. And then again, community. So I'm doubling down on it, tripling down on it. It is a lot more than just a garbage bin when you look at it in a holistic space in the scope of the community. So looking at a little bit of their deployment here. So as far as what they did, again, they've really focused more on their highly foot traffic areas. So all of their units will have a compactor element to them that is intended to reduce collections and do all the other great things that we've talked about so far. So looking at their specific deployment, and then specifically actually their recycling diversion. So being able to see tangible numbers We talked about earlier, 60,000 is just a number, but when you see a stadium of 60,000 people, it really, makes you feel like there's a difference there. Gainesville having an issue, with recycling diversion, to be able to see these hard facts in our dashboard, be able to, put these out to their sustainability department, share this with the community. 56,000 gallons of trash, 24,000 gallons of recycling over the last 6 months only. So it's really impactful to see that, and then see their breakdown. Okay, what are we getting? We're getting 2% bottles and cans. We're getting, 29.3% single stream recycling. And again, using that data to apply for grants, to improve, community outreach, and really, get the message out. This is another really big thing. I think some of the folks I've talked to here and in the general area as well have talked about cross-contamination issues. So I think there's no perfect system. I think we've all experienced it. You have contamination in your recycling stream. You can't send that to the recycling plant. You can't send that to if you're a hauler, you can't get hopefully some tonnage back for that. So education is a really big aspect of this, of their wraps as well. So knowing exactly in their community, what can be recycled, what needs to go to landfill, and then looking at that kind of contained model there, it's really hard to just throw something in a big bag on your way by. You have to stop, you have to interact, you have to use the foot pedal or that handle, and it tends to make people make a little bit more of an informed decision. So looking at some lessons learned, universities and cities are very similar, but also very different in a lot of different ways. But the issues that they face and the challenges that they're dealing with can be very similar. So we're all here because we want to move forward. We want to invest in productivity and innovation, see where we can be smarter, be more efficient in our operations, and then looking at cleaner areas, right? We want everywhere to be clean, we want everywhere to be tidy, that we're spending our time. We want sustainability, especially in these coastal environments. We want longevity, we want, where we're living and appreciating everything to last for future generations. And then looking at community again, it's really important to be investing our time in our future, in the places that we're spending a lot of our lives, and really looking at strengthening those experiences. So just wrapping up here, I think we can really think about all of these. We can really think about all of these aspects that we talked about today: efficiency improvement, sustainability, community, as essential infrastructure, and as essential to kind of looking at a future in Florida. So taking steps to really look at the right infrastructure, look at the right operations, work with different aspects of your teams to really think about how we can beautify these public spaces, create better experiences, and hopefully, kind of charge forward with a better, perception of just the normal trash can. So, again, I'm Josh Gerard. I'm our sales development manager, and thank you.
All right, thank you, Josh. And there's kind of a common theme that we've heard with our first panel, our panel now. It's the right tool or the right approach for what we're doing. So we've got 3 really good examples of that. I will share something about Big Bellies. They do have a feature that is pretty neat. They can actually, if you include it in what you get, you can actually lock the units remotely. And I was like, why is that a big deal? Last year when the Gators won the National Men's Basketball Championship, the police department, the University Police Department and the City of Gainesville PD came and said, you either have to move them or lock them. And I looked at them and I went, you just don't move those. And they went, well, you have to find some way to lock them. I'm like, why? They said, well, somebody could do something nefarious. I said, really? So we found out through Big Belly that you can actually remote and lock them so that the police would have been happy. So we had to secure our Big Bellies and remove some other trash cans. So using the right tool in the right place has been a big thing. All right, we've got a couple of minutes. We'll open up to questions. Is there anybody out there, 3 really good talks that are, again, doing the right thing in the right place? Right up front here.
Hi, thank you so much, all 3 of you, for the presentations. It was, I thoroughly enjoyed it and learned a lot. I have a question for you, Paul. I just want to make sure that I heard the presentation correctly. Right now, was the grant, the EPA grant to receive the smaller crusher for education and outreach programs, was that like a part of the phase, and is the intention to get the larger one that was the blue one for more beneficial use materials in the areas that you said there's opportunities for?
Yes and no. So the grant, the way that it was written, I didn't write the grant, previous supervisor wrote the grant. That's the civil. This one, which is, I broke it. I think I loud enough. So the way that it was written was that if received, that they would get a mobile pulverizer. One was not identified yet. Thank you. And then with that, they would do outreach and education to build the framework, hopefully, for a return of glass recycling in the county. So we were pretty much free to use the money however we wanted, as long as we hit some of those key metrics and stayed along that line. Buying one of the bigger items is what we want to do. Whether it comes from Mandela or from another company, we don't know. There might even be a third party that comes in and does recycling on a subscription basis instead of the county doing it. Our job with the grant is to get people talking about it. We have our administrator, or our county manager has already told our solid waste 1 central location for a pulverizer and 5 collection locations, 1 in each district. That's the directive. Now, with things going on with November, we'll see where that goes. Yeah.
And the last thing I wanted to share, there was a period that the DEP, Florida DEP, had innovative grants, and there are some governments like Sumter County focused on glass recycling. And that blue machine that you're looking at, they had one of the original versions of that, but you may want to go find those glass reports, because they showed how those local governments were looking to use that larger machine and found markets for them as a part of that grant. It might be just helpful information for you. Just wanted to mention that to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Got that? Taking notes?
Here, I'll even help. Karen, can you raise your hand? That Karen might be able to help you find that information, possibly.
It's on our website, on our recycling website, the DEP. I'll be speaking Wednesday to share our recycling website for it.
Thank you.
Valentina, a question. So you came into this with a brand new job. You're like, yeah, all right, I got a good gig. What am I gonna do? And they said, you're gonna go do outreach. You got a week, knock yourself out. How has that progressed over your 2 years now? Are you seeing repeat customers? How does that feel?
So, in all honesty, I am new to the solid waste industry completely. During my interview, if you asked me anything, I didn't even know what day my garbage came and picked up my garbage can. That's how little I knew. And that's why I knew that we needed this program. So when I got hired and they gave me the marketing and the outreach, they pretty much told me our community is lacking the knowledge. We need you to get everything, learn everything, and then provide it to everybody. So in that 1 week, no money, no rubric, no guidelines. It was pretty much free reign, and I noticed that no rules and no restrictions are just as hard as having too many rules and too many restrictions. So I just focused on what the kids would want and what they needed. So quickly just spray painted those boxes and just went out there and learned with them, and the kids have really been receptive. And like I said, I can't go out to the grocery store without being stopped. You won't find, I just bought my house a couple months ago, you won't find a single water bottle in my house. I learned what it meant to really be fully sustainable, and that's just what I preach to everybody else when I go out.
And we've gone a little bit over. Are there any other questions? All right. Well, I want to thank our panel.